Welcome to another episode of the Black College Experience HBCU podcast. I am Derek Thomas in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we have on with us the founder and CEO of Black College Experience, the one and only Keisha Kelly. What's going on, Kels?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another weekend of Black College Sports. In a Black College Sports, where we do the recap of everything that's gone on this week in Black College Sports. Of course, we're going to get into some volleyball standings, some soccer standings. We know that basketball is right around the corner, and it's been a very great weekend for college football. Has some upsets that we're gonna talk about tonight. Down goes North Carolina A&T, but we're not gonna hop into that first. We're gonna start off with something different. So we're gonna start over in the SWAC. We're going to talk about this women's volleyball. Now, right now, if you're paying attention to women's volleyball, Prairie View is leading the pack. They are now 8-1 in the conference with a 5-game winning streak. So Prairie View is just running tables right now. Followed by Alabama A&M that's 7-2 with a 1-game losing streak. Jackson State is 7-2 with a 1-game winning streak. Southern is 7-2 with a win streak, 2 winning streak. Texas Southern is 5-4. Alabama State is 4-5. University of Arkansas and Pine Bluff is 3-4. Both Grambling and Alcorn is 2-7, and then Valley is 0-9. So that is what I know. They're running the tables over there, but Prairie View looks to be doing an awesome job right now for the volleyball team. Let's see if they can hold on.
Right, because Alabama State has been ruling the SWAC in volleyball the past couple of seasons, correct?
Correct. And they are sitting at 4-5 right now. So we're going to see if they can, take over and see what's going to happen. But right now, Prairie View is holding it down. Now, hopping over to some soccer, women's soccer. Right now, Howard is 8-0. They haven't lost any games. So they're 8-0 in the conference right now with, of course, win streak of 8. Then, of course, followed by Prairie View. So Prairie View is also running it when it comes to soccer. Mm-hmm. They are 6-1. Texas Southern is 4-2-1. Alabama A&M is 5-3. University of Arkansas and Pine Bluff is 3-2. Grambling is 4-3, followed by Alabama State at 4-4. Jackson State at 3-3. Southern is 0-5-1, followed by Valley and Alcorn at 0-6. To get on the board. I did. I thought I would get a chance to get out there and actually see them play, but, still haven't. Well, I won't be able to get out there and see it because even during homecoming, the time just won't allow. So, because they'll be playing in Mississippi that weekend. But, like I said, it's still time for Alcorn, Mississippi Valley, and Southern to bring it up. So, it's still time.
Yeah, right. But congratulations to Howard. They are the defending and SWAC champion in soccer.
We know those are non-traditional. Those are the non-traditional sports you talk about. Well, soccer rather. And even now they had. I think they had a parade. Prairie View. Everybody knows Prairie View celebrated their homecoming, and they had a parade. And so the bowling team, of course, were the champions. So Prairie View bowling teams were the champions for the SWAC last year. So they were sporting their championship shirts and whatnot. So, those are when we get into the next season. Yeah, the next season. Those are the non-traditional sports. But, we had to show some love to the volleyball team, of course, and, of course, the soccer team. And, of course, we'll be getting into some of those other sports. Now, where do you want to go next?
Well, since we're in the SWAC, let's go ahead and talk about this news in the SWAC. Of course, we know the SWAC championship game is now going to be played on the highest rated school's home field. We now have a sponsor for the SWAC championship game, Cricket Wireless. So, Dr. McClellan just making those partnerships. It's good to see he continue to make partnerships. But I got a chance to meet him last week at the Southern Prairie View football game. So I just love the way that he's building corporate partnerships for the SWAC. And just building our brand and letting people know that we are a great brand of football. What do you want? You have any comments on the sponsor, Kels?
I don't.
All right. And then we have the SWAC's 2019 Hall of Fame class announced, and that's going to be Alabama State's Freeman Jackson, Alcorn State's Teresa Hooker, Grambling State's Autry Lane Howard, and Patricia Cage Bibbs, Jackson State's Richard Castor, Mississippi State's George Ivory, Prairie View A&M's Dr. John Granville, Texas Southern's John Doc Harvey have all been tabbed for induction into the SWAC's Hall of Fame. And it's just good to see these legends and players and contributors get a chance to be honored for their contributions to our home conference, Kels. You have any comments on that?
I think that's a pretty good class. On top of that, it is, like you said, it's great to see, and that's a long time coming for some of them, I'm sure, but I think I agree. It's great to see these people being honored amongst the conference.
Right. And we only had 3 football games in the SWAC this week. First up, we're going to talk about Prairie View. You said that was their homecoming game, correct?
This was Prairie View's homecoming game, which they, of course, just straight dominated.
Right.
The Virginia Lynchburg.
They've been the homecoming sacrifice for the SWAC this year. Served up homecoming W's for our Delta Devils and also for the Prairie View A&M Panthers. Let's just look at the stats. Jalen Morton threw for 2 touchdowns, threw for 144 yards. TJ Starks threw for 194 yards and 1 touchdown. Rushing wise, let's see, DeWanya Tucker, I guess they cleared the bench. As a team, they ran for 294 total yards. I mean, just cleared off the bench. Receiving wise, Jerry Scott had a big game, 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. Your Jags, Kels, headed to Dallas to take on Texas Southern, and you held off the Texas Southern Tigers 28 to 21. I'm sorry, don't have a box score for that. But
they didn't put a box. Yeah, for some reason there was no box score.
But we do know that Glenn Bubba McDaniel helped lead the Jaguars to the victory. So your Jaguars still are undefeated in the SWAC West. And now this last game, as much as it hurts to talk about this last game, I have to be professional and talk about this.
Okay, so I
last
started
game.
out, so you won't be so sad. You won't.
Yes,
be so
I'm
sad.
very sad. You have 2 sad. PP's on the phone too. You have 2 sad signed Delta Devils.
Okay, so
podcast.
we know that the end result is what always matters, but you can't take away from the fact that Jackson State won in overtime. So Valley gave them 4 good quarters. They played hard, and they played to the end, but you went into overtime, which of course the final score was 31-28.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, since it's y'all school, y'all go ahead and talk about it. I'm sorry.
Well, no, we rarely do we have a chance to dominate Jackson State, Kels. We jumped out 21-0. I was excited. Right. I was ecstatic, and of course, I was more shocked than anything. I'm gonna blame this on my mama.
I remember her saying, I don't think I'm really shocked that y'all played so well, because I remember Patrick saying in the early part of the season when he was talking about, I can't remember what team y'all played, and I remember him saying, I'm not surprised that we played like this because we did X, Y, and Z. Uh-huh. So thinking about that conversation at the beginning of the season, I was like, okay, now it starts to make sense. But to lose like that at the end, that does, yes. That hurts.
I'm going to blame my mama. My mom, Elaine Smith Thomas, commented, our Tigers like to come back. And that's exactly what happened. PP, were you at the game?
Man, I'm trying to be really professional, not let out some expletives over y'all show, because, man, this was just some behind-the-scenes stuff. I've been talking about this on social media that I'll share with y'all if I ever see one of y'all, but, it was some behind-the-scenes stuff that happened and the way that game happened and unfolded or whatever, of course I want to see Valley win, but at the same time, 4 quarters, putting the best talent on the field that can help you win the game. But I can't even lie, 21-0, and you know you can run the ball down their throat, and yet we somehow found a way to valley it up. Although one of those that first touchdown shouldn't have counted because that was illegal touching.
Yeah, his foot did step out of bounds.
Yeah, but still, they got a field goal kicker, and unfortunately we don't, and that's how we lost the game.
We did kick a field goal that was good, but it got called back because of a holding penalty. Now,
yeah, I know. I mean, his range is 35, 36 yards.
Right.
The overtime field goal was like, 42 yards, and we saw what happened.
Now, this was a game of 2 halves. We jumped up 21-0. Didi Bowie makes it 21-7, and we go into the second half. Jackson State makes a quarterback change. Quincy Casey started the game, and Derek Ponder entered the game and threw for 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. But the player of the game that had the most impact was the freshman, Kimani Clark. The young man ran for 171 yards and 1 touchdown, which I think is a SWAC freshman single-game record. And while I'm glad to see a young man have a good performance, I'm still just very much heartbroken that we let those Tigers escape again from Itabena without dropping an L on them. Because this is our, Kels, how Southern has the Bayou Classic against Grambling. This is our version of the Bayou Classic versus Jackson State. This is the team that if we only win 1 game, we happy. You know what I'm saying? Because we can talk noise to them Tigers down south. And we can say, yeah, we beat y'all. Regardless of how many times, even though we've been dominated in the series, we know we don't stand up to what Jackson State has done over their lifetime. But to have a former Tiger at the helm again with a chance to beat Jackson State, and we beat them with Comedy, former Tiger coach, and now we have Vincent Dancy, former Tiger, all-ACC player, at the helm, and I'm pretty sure he wanted to beat the Tigers as bad as we did. So I like what he's doing. I mean, he had Valley playing with a lot of fight. I just need to win the Powerball so I can donate a couple million to Valley so we can have all the scholarships, fully funded football program, fully funded athletics program, so that we can match up to other teams in the SWAC with as far as how deep we can, because you can tell our boys were getting tired. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's depressing, because I was happy. And then I had to then once the guy made that field goal kick, just depression set in. I want to go pop a few pills, but can't do that.
Okay, so before we move on, I have to know, because like I said, all I saw was Go Valley. The only thing I saw was touchdown. And then my timeline got quiet. I was like, okay, what happened?
Yes, the comeback was on.
I was like, oh my God, 21. I was like, they came back that fast. And so somebody was like, oh, here comes Valley being Valley. And I was like, that could happen to anybody. I just need y'all to understand.
No.
Anybody can come back at any given time. But
I can.
Go ahead.
They made adjustments in the second half. I hate to give them credit, man. It really hurt my soul, but they made second half adjustments, and we didn't make any adjustments after the middle of the second quarter. The only reason we got saved was because Bryant's legs pretty much saved us into overtime. You know what I'm saying? But
right. Well, I also feel like we gave them the game as well, because on the way down to win the game, we fumbled the ball, even though he kept us in it. He fumbled the ball and gave Jack State such a short field. I've been putting that gift on any Tigers post that I could find. We gave y'all this victory. Everyone feels like they took it. We gave it to you. But I like what Coach Dancy is building. I like the effort. I like the fight. We just got to keep it going to the next game and continue trying to recruit athletes to help build what he needs to build. And again, get me winning the Powerball where I could fully fund Valley's athletic program, and also create some scholarships for Black College Experience. Hey, Keisha, I can't forget about you. Would definitely help. But just another loss. I have to deal with them Tigers. And my heavenly sister is still probably saying, yeah, bub, your Delta Devils did it again. So as everyone, if you don't know, my recently passed sister was a diehard Jackson State Tiger, a two-time graduate of Jackson State University in chemistry. And she was a diehard Jackson State Tiger alum and member of Delta Pi chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. So I'm ready to move on because I don't want to get depressed.
All right. All right, where do you want to go next?
Let's jump into the MEAC.
Okay.
Let's first talk about the South Carolina State game because this game was very important, not only because it gives South Carolina State another victory. It's a history-making win for head coach Buddy Pough. Pough, I think I'm saying his name right. Excuse me. I got a chance to meet Coach Pough when Southern played against South Carolina State a few years ago. I think that was the Maniac Darren Lenard's senior year when your Jaguars got the victory in the SWAC MEAC Challenge. And Coach Pough was able to get his 129th victory, breaking the 128 wins previously held by legendary coach Willie Jeffries to become the school's winningest coach. A 24-10 victory over Morgan State. Kels, what do you think about this career-defining moment for Coach Buddy?
I think it's a great thing, and I was looking at when you looking at some other things that you wrote, but it's those moments that you have to stop, look back. You have to enjoy those moments, even at a game. You have to enjoy those moments because they happen so fast, and it's one of those things you just kind of say, it happened, but when you sit down and think about it, it's a very career-defining moment.
Most definitely, and here's the thing: I know there were a lot of rumblings about Coach Buddy's job security, about him getting another year to try to get this record. Will they keep him after this year? South Carolina State's having a decent year, so I would like to see him continue there. The man is now a bona fide, if he wasn't already, a bona fide South Carolina State football coaching legend. So
correct.
You don't fire your legend, do you? Not after he just got the record, you know what I'm saying? So let's recap this game. See if I can find some stats here. And yeah. All right, I have this. Max, I tell you. So let's just recap this game here. Corey Fields threw a pair of long second half touchdown passes, and South Carolina State built a 3-touchdown lead going to the fourth quarter and held on to beat Morgan State. The team shared the time possession even, but the Bulldogs took advantage of five Morgan State turnovers. Hill hit Wolverine with a 49-yard touchdown pass in the third quarter and found Shaquan Davis for 41 yards to make it 20-43 with 11 minutes and 27 seconds to play. Morgan State would add on another touchdown, but that would not be enough, as we spoke earlier that Coach Buddy is now the all-time winningest football coach in South Carolina State history. I love getting a chance to talk about history-making moments. Up next, we're going to talk about Merrimack versus Delaware State. Merrimack put the comeback on against Delaware State. They scored the last 16 points of the game to surge past Delaware State 30-21 at Alumni Stadium this afternoon. The Hornets, who led on 3 occasions in the game, lost their fifth straight to fall to 1-6. So, what do you think about this comeback by Merrimack on Delaware State?
The funny thing is that at the beginning of the season, they were saying that Delaware State was supposed to be the team to watch, and it was, I think, maybe either a running back or wide receiver, I can't remember, that they were saying was going to be so hot, and it just hasn't been proven to me. So far, I just haven't saw it. I wanted to believe it, but I just haven't saw it.
All right. And that was South Carolina State's homecoming game, and to get that record on homecoming for Coach Bud, I think that's great. But yeah, Delaware State has not been a good team. They've been taking their lumps this year, and to lose like they lose to Merrimack, letting the game slip away. I mean, you got to find a way to put teams away. I mean, you have to. If you don't, you're gonna have this happen. Now, 2 more games left in the MEAC. Bethune-Cookman versus Norfolk State. Kevius Williams threw for 274 yards and 2 touchdowns while rushing for another. And Isaac Washington rushed for 104 yards and a touchdown as Bethune-Cookman fended off Norfolk State for a 35-22 MEAC conference victory at Daytona Stadium. The Spartans fall to 2-6 and 1-3 in the MEAC. Let's see if I can get some other stats in this game. The box go up. And this game was crucial also for Bethune-Cookman. We'll get into that after we talk about the most recent game. For Norfolk State, Juwan Carter threw for 221 yards and 1 touchdown. Raekwon Smith ran for 103 yards and 1 touchdown, followed up with Kevin Johnson with 97 yards and a touchdown through the air. Stephon Francois and Teron Mallett had 75 and 74 yards respectively, and both of them caught touchdown passes. Kevin Johnson had 81 yards receiving and 1 touchdown for Norfolk State. Now, Kels, let's get into the NFL college football game that we just had on today. I'm speaking about the North Carolina A&T Aggies versus the FAMU Rattlers. I watched that game. It was a pretty good game.
So the funny thing is, Brian Howard, which is now the sports information director over at FAMU, comes from Grambling. He was saying that some wins they just feel good. He said after what I witnessed today, this one ranks at the top. FAMU is playing that old FAMU football. They have gotten back to that old team that we've been looking for the past couple of years.
Right. And
FAMU is playing good FAMU football. And they did knock off North Carolina A&T 34-31 in overtime. Now, this is the numbers against the teams. FAMU had 5 touchdowns to North Carolina's 3. They had no field goals to North Carolina's 4. 269 passing yards to North Carolina's 316. 76 rushing yards to North Carolina's 180. 17 first downs to 28 first downs to North Carolina A&T. They both had 1 turnover. They had 0 sacks for FAMU and then 2 sacks for North Carolina A&T. And we see how the ball game played out.
Exactly. And Ryan Stanley is just continuing to have an awesome season. So now FAMU sits at 4-0 in the MEAC. There's another team that sits at 4-0 in the MEAC, but Kels, only one of these schools is eligible for the MEAC championship and the Celebration Bowl.
Correct.
Because FAMU.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
FAMU is on probation. Do you know the details behind FAMU's probation?
They have a 5-year probation for the NCAA committed infractions. So it was applied on the 2019-2020 academic term. It was cited for lack of institutional control for failing to monitor its athletics between, y'all, this is so bad. Listen at this. 2010 to 2011 and 2016 to 2017. The case was resolved through the summary disposition process, a cooperative effort where the parties collectively submit the case to the committee. Many of the infractions from the data review overlap with the NCAA violations found between 2010 and to 2014. So this is old. Like they literally went back. It's a self-imposed 2019-2020 postseason ban for football, baseball, basketball, men's track and field, women's basketball, and volleyball. That's a lot of stuff. Of course, they were reducing scholarships by 10%, and that's for baseball, men's basketball, track, men's basketball, women's basketball, and volleyball, and then track and field. Of course, there was a reduction in the scholarships by 5%, and that's for the 2019 and 2020, and then 2020 to 2021 academic years. They have recruiting restrictions for all the sports from 2019 to 2021, and then a $5,000 fine plus % of the total athletics budget. So that's tough. That's tough.
Very much so.
That's a lot. That's tough.
And for them to be having the season that they're having, you really feel for those players.
Blowing it out the water. Just blowing it out the water. We've all been going back and forth, and I've been talking to Akil Blunt, which is Mel Blunt's son, which graduated from FAMU and played for FAMU. And we've been talking back and forth on Twitter, and a whole bunch of niggas like, we just playing for pride now. We just playing for pride. And I feel so bad for them. But like I told them, I said, look, trust me, Southern. I understand as a Southern Jaguar. I understand the band, bro. I understand that pain. That it hurts. It hurts. It hits differently, but it hurts.
Exactly. Even though you're playing for your pride, it really feels like a wasted season, so to speak. In the media pickers group that we have, we were talking about what if FAMU wins out, beats Bethune-Cookman, and they just outright as far as wins MEAC champion. You're gonna have someone who didn't really win the conference head to the Celebration Bowl. What if Southern wins out, is a SWAC champion, FAMU beats Southern? So here is what we can do to counteract this. And I'm hoping that athletic departments can try to get these resources in place to keep issues like this from happening. And really, since it's so old, you said this is from 2014, correct, Kels, that this happened?
It started like around 2010 to 14, yeah. It's
okay,
old.
So basically 10 years ago, so to speak, from 2010 to 2019, basically 9.5 years, probably going back a little further. I mean, these kids who were being punished weren't even in high school. So why should they be punished for something that they had no control over?
I think that's the part that hurts the most is when you have the actual the kids that are affected. And it's the same thing I felt about Southern. I was when you're hurt, it's like you get all of these sanctions. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the students, and they suffer basically at the hands. And y'all remember when Commissioner McClellan came on, talked about how easy it can be to get those sanctions with like just changing people's majors. Y'all remember that?
Right.
We're talking about how easy it could be. Like, it's just simple stuff. All it is paperwork. And they don't keep up with the paperwork stuff. Like, it's like that's what you're hired for, to keep up with the paperwork. And then you got NCAA looking for people to mess up.
Right.
And we just over here chilling. We taking a break. And then what happens is because you were too lazy to actually do your job, then these kids have to suffer and then they hit you hard. They hit you really hard when they do. It be kids that are matriculated through a 4-year concept, and then it's another group coming in. It's bad because it's just terrible. It's a terrible thing that happens. It's old stuff. You talking about something that's 10 years old, basically. That's terrible.
Well, and then to me, it feels like they hit the HBCUs harder than they do bigger schools.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can understand, I can understand punishment. I do.
Right.
I was a bad little whippersnapper. I was on punishment a lot when I was younger. Sitting in my window watching my friends play football outside the window. That's what FAMU was going to be like. You know, they're going to be sitting watching a team that they probably beat if they continue to play well and run the table, play in the Celebration Bowl. And that stung. And these kids that are being affected, I mean, I understand you have to punish. There had to be something else you can do besides take away opportunities from children, from young adults,
right,
who have been working hard to reach these goals that were committed by acts of not necessarily the previous student athletes, but just the employees. Find the employees,
right.
Pay a fine. I think taking away these postseason. Here's the thing: if you don't make the grades, by all means, if you just don't make the grades, right. I'm gonna have to research and see exactly what everything is to go. Because I know the APR will get you.
Right.
Get you.
Hey, can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, PP.
APR basically. The athlete has to graduate within a 6-year period. So right. Basically, an athlete can play 4 years, but they have 6 years to graduate. If they don't graduate, that affects APR. So, like you said, somebody that decides to this is what hurts HBCUs a lot. A kid could drop out of school,
right,
go working, and not graduate, and your APR is hurt. That makes absolutely
correct.
No sense.
Right. I don't think colleges should be impacted by an adult decision made by a grown-up.
And I think Patrick was about to say earlier, he was about to talk about, we were saying HBCUs get hit harder.
Yeah.
We do. It's like they be lurking in the bushes for us. And then we mad. I'm like, just do what you get. Do your job. Like, the kids do not deserve what they get hit with. And then when they come hard for you. And I guess one of the worst things, not only do you not get the postseason, but then they pull your scholarship. Lord knows we can't afford to have no scholarship gone. I don't care what school you are. You can't afford to have no scholarship gone.
Hey, you got Ole Miss out here paying players and stuff like that, and all they got was a 1-year postseason.
A slap on the wrist. And now they got the train back running again. But before, here's the thing. Before we move on, I mean, it's important that, athletic departments continue to stress how important academics are as far as being student athletes. It's important that the AD administrators also stress how important it is to keep proper records. Everything should be almost computerized. If you don't have a computerized system, invest in one so that you can get your records properly organized. I'm bad with paper. I am terrible with paper. But my digital organization system is impeccable. At one point, I had every Prince song categorized by album, labeled, number, and interlude. All in little folders, all by album name. Now, paper-wise, I suck, but digital organization, which is something that you can easily do with software that's available. They have software out there for this. Invest in the software to keep these problems from happening. And I also stress that your student athletes try to go to class. I really wish they would allow you to disqualify certain instances where a student athlete makes an adult decision and feels like they don't want to attend college anymore. A school should not be.
They do for pro athletes that go pro.
Oh, they do for pro athletes, but not for a young man that just decides I don't want to go to college anymore. That's something that they need to change with the APR system, because there was a time at one point where I felt like I wasn't going to go to college. Or when I was at Valley, I was a little homesick, and I was thinking about withdrawing. And, of course, my mama said, if you leave Valley, you come in here in the Pine Box. So I stayed. But what if I had left? Now, I wasn't an athlete, but let's say I was. Why should the Valley Athletic Program be punished for a decision that I choose to make for my adult life? You know, if I'm there and I fail, yeah, ding them. But if I choose to leave and make a decision on my own to leave, then, you know, let the school be able to roll with the punches and try to find somebody to take my scholarship, you know? So, and I just feel real bad for the FAMU players across all the sports that are affected by this, because it's not fair. It's not fair that they lose opportunities to compete for championships for violations that had not occurred during their watch. I really think the NCAA needs to put I don't know if they have a statute of limitations on going back. They need to implement a shorter one now. If you don't find us within 3 to 4 years, or 2-3 years, leave these schools alone. You know what I'm saying? The kids who committed these acts are gone. They're a part of the workforce now. They've earned their degree, most of them, and they're gone.
You want to hear a crazy short story?
Sure.
With Vallis, the last time Vallis was on APR ban for basketball, not football, Oklahoma State went back. A player had them on APR ban. They went back, found the player, helped them graduate, and they immediately got taken off APR sanction.
Really?
15 years. Went back 15 years.
Yeah. All right. Now, we talked about, gotta move on. Talked about football in the MEAC, so now we're going to talk about volleyball in the MEAC. In the Northern Division, Howard, 6-0. University of Maryland Eastern Shore is at 3-3, followed by Delaware State and Coppin State also at 3-3. Morgan State at 2-4. Norfolk State at 1-5. In the Southern Division, North Carolina A&T is undefeated, followed up by Bethune-Cookman at 3-3. North Carolina Central at 0-6, and FAMU, again another winning program in the conference that is ineligible, at 4-2. That just hurts my heart, Kels. Really, really hurts my heart.
Again, you don't want to take away from any of the sports, but it seems like all of the sports that are dominating, football, volleyball, all the ones that are dominating are the ones that are playing really well. And when you look at the ban at the length of the time, it just stings. And it's like I was talking about, you talk about Ole Miss. You might the one, you get the 1 year, you get the slap on the wrist, and we know they paying the people, they can pay them off, and we don't have the money to pay. But you give me a pencil, you find the school, and then we move on. Snatching the scholarships and doing all the stuff, it just hurts. It really stings. Again, the kids don't deserve that. They truly don't deserve that. So, I really hate to see them in this type of situation, but, it is what it is.
Definitely. All right, so we're ready to jump over to the SEAC in football. Now, Kels, I saw you on Facebook in a raincoat. What game did you go to this weekend?
So yesterday, for the love of sports, I was at homecoming yesterday. I did go to Clark Atlanta's homecoming. Clark Atlanta Panthers did play the Savannah State Tigers, and it was a really rainy game, but it was a great game. Now, for people that don't know, Clark Atlanta right now sits at 0-6. They have not won a game under a new coach, Tim Boland. So they are at 0-6, and they did lose yesterday homecoming after an overtime. It was an overtime win, 22-15, where Savannah State walked away with the win. So it was a really good game. It was really wet. My computer got wet. I had water in my screen. My phone got wet. It was just a really wet. Yeah. Well, my computer was inside of my bag. The water got inside of my bag. My computer wasn't out.
Is it still working?
Yeah, it's still working. Okay. But I didn't realize it until today. I was like, oh, my God, my computer. And so, my phone, everything was just wet. Like, it was really my sock. Everything on me was just wet once I got home. I was just like, it was just disgusting. I just hop in the shower, get it all done. But it was still a great game. They did. They still came out. They had a great time. And the funny thing is that Savannah State also has, everybody knows they came down to, or went to Division II. They came from the MEAC and went to Division II. So, with them doing their thing yesterday, it was just a great game, even in the rain. I survived the rain. I wasn't sick, but it exhausted me.
That's the best. It
exhausted me, but it was still a fun game. And the funny thing is that the College Football Hall of Fame was talking about, okay, this is what real fans do. And I was like, bro, I promise you, we want to leave. At the third, I wanted to leave, but the bands came out at halftime. So I was like, okay. So by the time it got down, it was a day game, but it was a great time, even in the rain.
Yes, indeed. Awesome atmosphere in the SEAC. Well, let's run down these SEAC football games for this week. A lot of good football games. Of course, first up, Fort Valley State defeated Morehouse. And let me get that up. Was that homecoming for Fort Valley State? Make sure.
It was.
Okay. So, yeah, another homecoming victory for the home squad. And let's bring up these stats. Morehouse is just kissing on the chin this year. All right. So, come on. Slade Jarman. Another form. You know what? I think we got more quarterbacks playing in HBCU, former quarterbacks playing HBCU football than anybody. Jet Even and Slade Jarman. I mean, come on. All right.
We had a quarterback that was playing at Lane last year.
What happened to baby Cam Newton? Where did he end up?
Oh, he's going to be a safety at UMass, I believe. He got offered by UMass.
Okay. Right. So Slade Jarman, our former quarterback, when one former Delta Devil wins, we all win. Threw for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception to lead Fort Valley State over Morehouse. On the ground, though, Fort Valley State was stymied on the 34 total yards, but through the air, Jeffrey Mack led Fort Valley State with 4 catches for 107 yards and 1 touchdown. Shamar Bridges had 3 catches for 84 yards for Morehouse. Michael Sims and Jalen Brown combined for only 109 yards passing. On the ground, Morehouse was stymied, only 19 total yards, 79 total lost yards. I mean, that must 11 sacks. That Fort Valley State's defense was eating Morehouse alive. Up next, Tuskegee defeats Central 21-10. And it's good to see Tuskegee get back in the win column again for the second straight week. They were kind of struggling this week. They sit at now 3-1 in the SEAC. Individual stats for this game: Ahmad Deramis threw for 96 yards on the ground. He also led the team with 68 yards, and Torian Taylor had 1 touchdown and 67 yards. For Central, Derek Williams had 64 yards passing and 2 picks. On the ground is where Central really just got stymied, only 48 total yards. So, that Tuskegee defense really didn't let Central State make it at all. I also talked about Savannah State beating Clark Atlanta for homecoming. Kentucky State opened the whooping stick on Lane 40-20. I mean, pull this up here.
Let me, while we're here, let me say this. The funny thing is, when you talked about, Tuskegee, because I did say last week, I was like, I've never seen a Tuskegee team look like this. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about this Morehouse team. This Morehouse team, even Morehouse is like, they're looking like, all right, y'all, what's going on? What's going on? And their homecoming is coming up this weekend. And even they're looking like, this is not who we thought Morehouse is not who they thought they were. What do y'all think about this team that started out 8-0 last year? We're 8-0, and then after that they pretty much hit a bump. But think about where they were last year at this time, and then now.
Well, I mean, I guess you got to look at their opponents. Their opponents got better. I'm pretty sure Morehouse coaches and players didn't expect to have a struggle season. But that's what happens in college football. That's what happens in sports, period. Each year is different. You could be undefeated the year before and then be defeated the next year. So, it's all about taking I guess you can say, taking care of your opportunities when you have them. I was very shocked, but that's just how the ball bounces in college sports. So, hopefully Morehouse can win their homecoming game. You always want to win homecoming if you can, but hey, it's not guaranteed. You gotta, like you just quoted Dennis Green. I'm gonna quote Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. So. Whew. But let's look at these stats by Kentucky State. Jalen Myers threw for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. For Lane, Tariq McKenzie threw for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the ground, Kentucky State was led by Brett Sear for 93 yards. And also Jalen Myers for 77 yards and 1 touchdown. Conway also had 37 yards and a touchdown. For Lane on the ground, they were led by Kingston Davis. I know that name. I think that's one of the young men from Last Chance U. He led Lane with 54 yards rushing, a Michigan transfer. Yeah, Tariq McKenzie had 24 yards and 1 touchdown. Through the air, for Kentucky State, Jonathan Powell had 83 yards and 1 touchdown, followed up by Brendan Lauder, 41 yards and 1 touchdown through the air for Lane. Anthony Evelyn had 64 yards. Delio Richardson had 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. All right, so up next. Now, before we talk about the Ed Waters-Miles game, I want to talk about this baseball score that Albany and Benedict had. Kels, I know you don't like those close games, but what do you think about a 7-2 game versus Albany and Benedict?
I don't. I think close games are worse than games like that. So I'll take that over a 1-point game. That's the worst to me.
And the only touchdown was scored by McKinley Harbers, who had 148 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. He also had a long rush of 80 yards. 196 total yards on the ground for Albany State, and that puts Albany State at 4-0 in the SEAC. Now, let's look at this Miles. I don't think I have any stats on it, but Miles drug Ed Waters 49-28. Ed Waters has been stepping their feet all the way into the SEAC, because they're trying to become a member of the SEAC. So I guess they're saying, hey, we're gonna be in y'all conference, so we're gonna come play, win or lose. It's good to see Ed Waters, not unafraid to compete. I know Coach Ruffin's gonna get Ed Waters in gear, as they continue to build their program. But Miles just laid it on, Kels. What do you think about that?
Now, it was. And for people that don't know, they are cousins. They're family. So big cousin and little cousin. And I always wondered if they were related. And then it came out yesterday that they are cousins.
Yeah.
They're cousins. So I was like, well, guess what? Fun fact. Black College Experience has interviewed both cousins. We have interviewed them both. That's the funny thing. But Miles ain't letting up. Even with a near beat. They nearly lost last week against Clark Atlanta, and they were out there playing till 1:00 in the morning. They still end up pulling it off. So Miles is still proving, as Coach Ruffin said when he interviewed, last year, and we're moving on to a new year. They're still playing good Miles college football, and they're not. They just really put a beating on Edward Waters last night.
Mm-hmm. Now let's look at these standings in the SEAC. In the East, Kels, I guess you could say I'm not surprised that Savannah State is winning in the SEAC. They are just a year removed from being a Division I program.
Correct.
They are 3-0, followed up by Fort Valley State 3-0, followed up by Albany State, who's 3-0. So some dominoes are gonna have to fall in order to determine the East champ. And of course, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, and Benedict are both at 0-2, 0-5, 0-4. These are conference records. In the West, Miles reigns supreme at 3-0, followed by Kentucky State 2-1, Tuskegee 1-0. Excuse me, Central State 1-1, and Lane Goose Egg and 3. But before we move over to the CIAA, Savannah State, Uncle Shannon Squire, Kels, what you think?
I did. I still can't believe Savannah State is doing what Savannah State is doing, but they did. I can't remember. They blew somebody out a couple weeks ago, but Savannah State is looking like they should have been in, or they should have stayed in the SEAC. I really don't know what that NEAC move was for. They should have just stayed where they were because it looks like they're measuring up to do what they need to do. And even someone else was saying, "Oh, you just don't scout." So, well, they just moved back to the SEAC. But I think Savannah State stands a chance. Really good move.
All right, so to jump over to the CIAA this week. All right, got about 9 minutes left. Talk about these games. Winston-Salem State beats up on St. Aug's. Virginia Union defeated Chowan 41-34. Fayetteville State eked out a 1-point victory over Johnson C. Smith. Elizabeth City State defeated Lincoln, Pennsylvania 34-18, and Bowie State defeated Virginia State 24-14 to win homecoming again. No Amir Hall, no problem. So let's talk about these games. See, we got how much time we got left. One game I want to talk about. Let's see here. Hold on, come on, thing. Where is it at? I want to talk about the standings right quick because we ain't gonna have time to talk about all the games. All right, right now in the standings in the Northern Division, Bowie State and Virginia Union lead with a 2-0 division record, 4-0 conference record. Virginia State behind them with 1-1, 3-1 in the conference. Elizabeth City State 1-1, 2-2 in the conference. Chowan 0-2 in the division, 0-4 in the conference. Lincoln, Pennsylvania 0-2, 0-4 in the conference. Fayetteville State kills 2-0 in the division, 4-0 in the conference. Winston-Salem State 2-0 and 2-2 overall in the conference. Livingstone and Shaw both 0-1, 1-2. St. Aug's 1-1, 1-3, and Johnson C. Smith 0-2, 1-3. Fayetteville State and Winston-Salem State are on a collision course in the conference. I mean, they sit atop the Southern Division and as well Bowie State and Virginia Union. If they continue to win, because right now Bowie State is 7-0, they've been using a dominating ground attack to ground out games. What do you think about Bowie State and Virginia Union and Fayetteville State and Winston-Salem State as the season progresses as we move along?
I think it was expected with. It was expected with Virginia State, of course, with Bowie. Now, Fayetteville, I didn't expect, but I think with the others, it would have been, a prediction. Even Winston-Salem wouldn't have been. But if you get deep into it, I want to say coming up, Bowie played. Who did they play yesterday? Virginia Union.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they play Virginia State, I believe, coming up this weekend, if I'm correct.
Let me pull that up. I think so.
I want to say they play Virginia, so it's coming. Like, it's getting good. The same thing with North Carolina A&T playing Howard this weekend for homecoming. It's gonna be like they gonna put a hurting on them. They gonna take all the anger out on them.
You think?
They're gonna take all the anger out on them.
So all right,
just run the port for us.
So now we have our independent schools we want to talk about. Hampton took it on the chin from Campbell, losing 31-16. Run down a few stats for the Hampton Pirates. They are 0-2 in the Big South, 3-4. They were led in passing by DeAndre Francois, of course, with 246 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Shy McKenzie, 137 yards and 1 touchdown. Tennessee State they defeated Austin Peay. I have that up. I had it up here, but it closed out on me. They defeated.
It was 26-24.
Yeah, 26-24 to secure a homecoming victory. And to run down our rest of our independent games, West Virginia State lost to Urbana, Ohio. St. Thomas defeated Allen U. Lincoln, Missouri blew out Northeastern Missouri State. I picked Northeastern Missouri State. That was homecoming for Lincoln, Missouri. All right, Lincoln, Missouri. Texas Wesleyan put a hurting on Texas College. Let's see here. Ottawa defeated one of my favorite schools. That's an NAIA school, HBCU in Langston. So the Langston Lions fall to Ottawa. That was an upset because Langston's pretty good squad. So that's all I have for football. But let's talk about this big game coming up next week, Kel, before we get out of here. Got to talk about it.
Okay.
The Alcorn Southern game.
So I'll start off by saying this. We ended up playing yesterday a Texas Southern team that is winless. Mm-hmm. It was, in my opinion, lackluster, but this week I'm very optimistic. We got a whole nother thing that we got going on, and it's like, all right, I just can't even deal with like all the extra stuff and all the chatter and all that. I was like, I've just really shut it down starting today, and so it's gonna have to be a different game plan. We can't play like we played against Prairie View. We can't play like we played against Texas Southern, and you're coming with a Alcorn State Braves team that's well rested because they're coming off a bye week.
Exactly.
So I'm just praying that Odoms and the rest of the coaching staff has a different game plan to do what they need to do, because we all know if Alcorn jumps out first, they gon' take it and they gonna run it and they gonna keep scoring. Plus we're going down to Morgan.
Reservation.
So that's the one thing I just really don't care for, but I do. I can't count my team out. Even though we've lost in the past, I'm like, all right, it's a different year, so I know what Alcorn is capable of, but I'm like, all right, Southern, I know what y'all can do. So praying that, this is the thing that, I know it's going to be a great time. I really wish I could be in that mix, but I will be here at Morehouse Homecoming, and hopefully anybody that's there. Patrick, are you going? Derek, are y'all going? Anybody going?
I'm not going to make it to the Alcorn Southern game. I would like to,
okay,
but unfortunately I won't be able to make it. The last time I got a chance to see Alcorn and Southern play, though, on the campus of Alcorn State, I think you guys pulled that game out because Leonard Tillery broke the SWAC's all-time.
Oh, yeah, broke his record. Yeah, I was at that weekend in particular, I was at Magic City Classic, so that's been a couple of years ago.
So, and another key game is also going to happen this weekend in the SWAC. It's Grambling State will take on the upstart UAPB Lions, who sit second in the SWAC West. A lot of the season's coming down to the wire. Championship positions in the SWAC, the MEAC, the CRAA, the SEAC are all on the line. When you get to October, it's time to really put it in gear. You trying to play or get in gear for that championship run, and when you get, like I said, when you get to October, and definitely late October, you want to be playing at a very, very high level. You want to hopefully don't have a lot of injuries. Alcorn still without Noah Johnson, but the young man has is his name Felix Harper?
Yeah.
Felix Harper has been playing like he's possessed. Maybe he has a spirit of McNair in him. I don't know. But this young man has been a welcome surprise for the Braves. But we're almost out of time. So we want to thank everybody for listening. Kels, close us out.
So again, thank you everybody for listening and rolling with us here at Black College Experience. It's another great week coming up. Of course, we will all be plugged into this week's games. Of course, I will be plugged into what my Jaguars will be doing as the rest and the rest of the world. I know it's a sold out crowd. It's gonna be amazing for North Carolina A&T and Howard. I was set to go to that game and I canceled, but I don't regret that. Some other things I need to do, but it's going to be a great weekend. Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend for them. Everything is sold out for them, so I'm super excited for them as well. Also, like I said, I'll be over at Morehouse, so I will be celebrating with Morehouse. Everybody knows how much I absolutely positively hate mascots. I do. I hate them with a passion. So this week I have been told by the want to say the associate AD of compliance or associate AD at Morehouse, that they're going to send Bobby the mascot from Morehouse to my job with my media credentials. So needless to say, those credentials might be sitting on the desk. Absolutely. If y'all saw it now, the mascot has
we need a picture of that. We need a picture of you
with
the mascot.
They said they were going to do a video. Now,
before we get out of here, Kels, talk about your coat drive you're working on, man. Got to talk about that.
The what?
The coat drive.
The coat drive. I'm so sorry. Okay, so what we're partnering to do, we're going to partner with Mustard Seed Barbecue, which is one of my great friends from Florida. He is a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So what's happening is I partnered with this guy. His name is Bertram McCrae. He has Mustard Seed Barbecue. So what's going to happen is we're partnering with them starting on November 11th. We're going to be collecting coats. We're going to be doing a coat donation, which, of course, you'll be able to drop them off at his locations. And then we're going to donate those coats locally.
Yes, indeed. And I think that's awesome. I mean, to have a coat drive. I mean, of course, with winter coming up, kids need coats so they're not sitting in the bus stops freezing.
Correct.
So I just want to thank you for serving your community again. You have really, really shown that you give back not only to your school, but also to the community around you. And I'm just really glad to be associated with you, and I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we are out of here, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night.